So things about using your calculator to get trig function values. First thing that you're going to need to check is to make sure whether or not your calculator is in degrees mode. So you could look for on your calculator, some of them have like a D that says it's in degrees mode, or a DEG. It should not have like an R, because R is for radians that we're going to talk about later. So let me show you how to check on a calculator like mine. So mine says mine's in radians mode right now. So if I go to this DRG menu at the top and arrow over, I can switch it, hit equals, to degrees mode, and it'll be all good. Now it says DEG at the bottom. If it's in the wrong mode, real quick, you'll figure it out because you won't get any of the same values that I get. So some inverse trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent, will get us some values of our angle measures that we need, like your warm-up. And just a reminder, these are going to be approximations. So to start with, we'll start with sine of 68 degrees divided by cosine of 68 degrees. Main thing is make sure you close your parentheses when you type this into your calculator. You could also instead just do tangent of 68 degrees, because that's sine over cosine. Either way, you'll get your value to be 2.475. If you don't have your calculator, you can go on Desmos and use their scientific calculator. Same idea, you can go to all the trig functions in the functions menu, type in your values, again making sure to close your parentheses around your trig functions, and then hit equals, and you can do it that way as well. So not having a calculator is not going to get you out of it. You don't have a cosecant button on your calculator, so you're going to have to use the fact that that is equal to 1 over your sine value. So first off, go ahead and find your sine value, because if we're looking at a cosecant value, a lot of times when we find it, we'll go, hey, if sine is 1/2, that means our cosecant value would be 2 over 1. So using your sine function to start with, you'll get that your sine value is going to be approximately 0.586 with some more decimal places. Don't round it off. Keep all your decimal places in your calculator. So if you do 1 divided by that, using your answer key so it keeps all the exact values, then your reciprocal, 1.708 approximately, is going to be your cosecant value. So if it's one of your reciprocal functions, start with the original and then do 1 divided by your answer. So let me show you what this would look like, because this is all about using your calculator today. So if you do your sine value, and just type everything in there, hit equals, and then do 1 divided by, and then using your second key for your answer so it copies all those decimal places, hit equals. That'll give you an approximation. Or if you want to do it all at once, you have to be a little bit careful. You understand the 1 goes outside your trig function, but you could do 1 divided by sine that way as well and get the same thing. So if you're going to do a secant value, you would need to use your cosine function, because secant and cosine are reciprocals. Hopefully remember where those degrees, minutes symbols are. They're in your DMS menu on your calculator. So if cosine's 0.299 approximately, then you could do 1 divided by that and get that your secant value is approximately 3.347. Now we're going to go backwards, where you need to find the angle that has some certain trig function value. So for all these, we're going to be using our inverse trig functions, or they're also called your arc trig functions. Those are the ones that have like the -1 symbol if you look on your calculator. So if you need an angle measure and you know your trig function value, you're going to use your inverse trig function. So if I know my cosine value is 0.92, go to your calculator, hit second, and then do cosine inverse of 0.92, etc. And what we get out will be the angle that has that trig function value, so 22.9 degrees. Now back to those reciprocal trig functions. You don't have an inverse cotangent button on your calculator, but you know that if this is your cotangent value for our mystery angle, then its tangent value is 1 over that. So think about the fact that your tangent value for this angle would be about 0.6918, and you can then use your inverse tangent function to go backwards from that and get the measure of your angle. Again, keep all those decimal places, use your answer key. Or if you want to, you can think, hey, I need the angle that has a tangent value of 1 over 1.44, type it in that way, and hit equals and get there directly. So think about the fact that its tangent value is 1 over your cotangent value. Same with cosecant. Change it back to a sine value by doing 1 over your cosecant value, and then do arcsine of that sine value, and you'll get the angle measure to be 21.243 degrees. Anytime you want an angle, you're going to end up using an inverse trig function. So say that I've got this flagpole, and I'm trying to find its angle of elevation to the sun. So my shadow's being cast on the ground here. Draw yourself a picture, it always helps. I know that my shadow's length is 27.65 feet. And my flagpole is 35 feet, so this is obviously not to scale. The angle of elevation from the tip of the shadow up to the sun, or across the top of the flagpole there, is that angle in the lower right. I need that angle. I have my adjacent side. I have my opposite side. So trig function that relates those is tangent. So if I was to do tangent of that angle, I'd have my opposite side length of 35 over my adjacent side length of 27.65. So I want the angle that has that tangent value. So let's do inverse tangent or arctangent of 35 over 27.65 in your calculator, and you should get an angle of 51.69 degrees. Say you want to evaluate something that looks like this. Sine squared, 62 degrees. They write it with the squared in the middle to represent sine of 62 times sine of 62, so that you know it's not the 62-degree angle that's being squared, it's the sine function. So you'll have to use lots of parentheses. If you use the regular calculator, you'll have to put like parentheses to close your angle measure and parentheses around sine, kind of like I'm typing in here. So if you punch those in, you should get approximately 1.3075. If you're using Desmos, you can also just sine and then go back and hit the little squared button, and then tangent and delete the parentheses and do the little squared button, because it's a little bit fancier, and that'll get you the same value. If you want this trig function value, think about the fact that that is really just 2 times your sine value for a 12-degree 13-minute angle, and then cosecant is 1 over sine, so you'll need to do 5 times 1 over sine of 80 degrees. This would actually be a little easier to do in your regular calculator because Desmos doesn't do the 12 degrees 13 minutes, but I'm going to work around it here. So I'll have 2 times sine of 12 plus 13 minutes is 13 out of 60 degrees, so that's why I'm doing a little workaround here. If you're in a regular calculator, you go to your degrees, minutes, seconds menu and use it. And then plus 5 times 1 over sine of 80 degrees should get you approximately 5.5004. 3. I didn't round right. Close enough.